Today, we're going to dig into something we all do every single day, eating. But we're going to look at it through the eyes of a really profound ancient text to find some wisdom that's, well, pretty much timeless. So let me just ask you this straight up. Your relationship with food, is it actually helping you or is it kind of hindering you? Is it a source of energy and well-being or is it a source of stress, anxiety, maybe even complication? For a lot of us, if we're being honest, it's definitely the latter. All right, so let's get into it. We're actually turning to a 1600-year-old classic of Buddhist philosophy. It's often called the Discourse on the Stages of Yogic Practice. And believe it or not, what it has to say about our modern struggle with food is, well, it's startlingly relevant. Now, let's be super clear about something. This has nothing to do with calories or macros or the latest fad diet. The goal here isn't to lose 10 pounds. It's about a complete and radical reframing of this thing we do every day, turning it into a powerful practice for mental clarity and even spiritual growth. Okay, so the text starts with a diagnosis of the problem. It argues that our normal, everyday relationship with food is absolutely filled with what it calls hidden flaws, these inherent issues that just create suffering whether we see it or not. And this key term, 过患, is so important to get. It's pointing to the idea that the problem isn't the apple or the piece of cake itself. No, the problem is the whole process, the entire mindset surrounding food, which is just fundamentally tangled up with suffering. And the Sastra breaks this down for us into three really distinct stages. It gives us a kind of roadmap to understand where our unhappiness comes from. So let's take a look at each one. First up is the flaw of pursuit. This is all about the struggle, the pure hassle of just getting food on the table. The text talks about the hard labor of farming and business, which, sounds a lot like our long work hours just to afford a certain lifestyle. It talks about the constant anxiety of protecting what you have, leading to arguments over money and even wars between nations over resources. It's this never-ending, painful cycle, and get this, it was just as real 1600 years ago as it is today. The second flaw is in the act of eating itself. And the Sastra does not pull any punches here. It basically says, look, no matter how amazing or delicious that food looks, the second it goes into your mouth and gets mixed with saliva, its appeal is gone. It becomes something, well, kind of disgusting. It's a really blunt, powerful reminder of just how fleeting sensory pleasure is. And finally, we've got the flaw of transformation. So once the food is inside us, the text describes it as becoming various impure things. Blood, flesh, bone, and the rest, of course, is expelled as waste. But even more importantly, it makes the direct link. Imbalanced eating causes countless diseases, creating even more suffering down the road. So after that pretty grim diagnosis, you might be wondering, okay, what's the solution? And this is where the text makes this beautiful pivot, from just pointing out the problem to laying out a powerful new purpose for eating altogether. It's about turning it into a conscious practice. And this slide just lays out the shift perfectly. On one side, you have our usual reasons for eating, right? For pleasure, for comfort, to show off, or to look a certain way, all the stuff that drives modern diet culture. But the Sastra offers a totally different path, eating simply to keep the body going, to maintain life, all in service of a much bigger goal, supporting our spiritual practice, our path to clarity and peace. And to really hammer this point home, the text uses this really shocking analogy. It asks you to imagine parents lost in a desert with their child who has tragically perished. They would only eat out of the most extreme, desperate necessity to survive. There'd be zero pleasure, zero desire involved. And that, as intense as it sounds, is the mindset we're encouraged to think about, eating purely to survive so we can continue our practice. So let's get practical. Let's look at the actual prescription, because this isn't about starving yourself at all. It's about finding that wise middle path. The Sastra gives us a really clear, actionable framework for what it calls balanced eating. So this idea of balance, 平等食, is absolutely crucial. It means not eating so little that you're weak and can't function, but also not so much that you feel heavy and tired. It means picking foods that are actually good for your body, not eating again before your last meal has digested, and, this is a big one, eating without a mind full of greed or worry or attachment. Building on that, the text gives us 5 super clear intentions that turn every meal into a deliberate act of self-care, a tool for our bigger goals. Yeah, of course. Number 1 is to stop being hungry and thirsty. But then it gets deeper. You eat to support your spiritual practice. You eat to heal what's wrong, to prevent new problems. And ultimately, You eat to live with strength, ease, and peace. This is how moderating your eating becomes a powerful path to achieving your real goals. So, how do we actually bring all of this to our own kitchen table, like right now? The text makes it pretty clear that this ancient wisdom isn't just some abstract idea. It's a practical, moment-to-moment guide for your life. So here's the ultimate takeaway. Your next meal, it doesn't have to be just another part of that cycle of craving and stress and maybe even sickness. By just shifting your intention, you can transform it into a really powerful opportunity, a practice for cultivating mindfulness, better health, and a deeper sense of well-being. And that leaves us with one final thought. Before you take your next bite of food, just pause for a second and ask yourself, what's my real intention here? Is it for a quick, fleeting pleasure, or could it be for something more?